You can see the screen now?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we can start, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I will be talking about broadly science tech entrepreneurship, and then more importantly about what are the current funding options which are available if any one of you wants to enter this entrepreneurship domain. So this is what broadly I'll be covering. I'll give a primer to science entrepreneurship, where we will try to understand the business creation process. We will try to understand technology innovation and what are science startups. And then if you want to have a startup, what are few essential starting points that you need to keep in mind. Followed by that, as venture center, how can we support your entrepreneurship journey? That I will briefly touch upon some successful examples. And then very importantly, what are the funding options to support this business incubation process? So let me start with this primer on science entrepreneurship to begin with. Feel free to stop me, or then we can take the questions at the end of the talk also. So whenever we are trying to understand the business creation process, we need to remember that it has two parts, idea part and the execution part. When you are from the science domain, you generally have a good feel of the idea. So whatever is the business idea, it comes from identifying the exact problem, what is the need, what is the opportunity. Then as technical people, we also have a solution to that problem. What we need to do is need to put it together as an offering. So what is the product or the service that you will be offering, and then what is the revenue model, because you do need money to go take ahead your idea. The second important part is the execution part, where you need to manage the technology development process, which is a completely different thing than what you have done in your laboratories. For managing the technology development process, what you need very importantly is a group of people, a team of people who will support this technology development process. You need to manage the finances as well as other resources which you need to keep in mind when you're executing this idea. And then of course, as a startup, you have to keep in mind the visibility, how you're communicating to people, the competition in your domain. So there could be other startups in this domain who would be offering the similar kind of solution or the service. So you need to be aware about that. And then of course, managing the timing for all these things. So when to get the money, when to hire the right people, when do you apply for the next funding round. All these timings is managing the timing is very, very important. This is one more illustration which we always use as a risk and reward illustration. So the negative part of the graph is the depth of the hole. That is where you're negative in cash flow. So here you need to put in money from your own part. Whereas how quickly you can come out of in the positive, depending on that, the success of your business is there. Now, when you're thinking about any business ideas, let us try to define some perfect business ideas, like what you should start with to begin. So since you are all from the pharmacy background, you will understand this example very quickly and relate to it very quickly. So you are aware about there are painkillers, there are vitamins, but as a starting point, you should always go for those kind of business ideas which fall in the painkillers category, meaning where the patient is wanting to have that painkiller to solve the pain problem, and not the vitamins category where it is essential, but it is good to have. The person will not die to have a solution for it. So you always go for painkiller kind of ideas rather than vitamins kind of ideas. Choose ideas which will make money even while you're not actively behind it. So you need not put much efforts to it. There's a strong IP around your products. Choose that kind of idea. Also choose ideas when the customer is ready to pay in advance, because you do need that cash to keep your startup idea afloat. So choose ideas where the customer is willing to pay even in advance to get the solution. Also those ideas where you have a sustainable competitive edge. For example, you are dependent on some particular critical raw material where you have control over the source of that raw material. That could be a competitive edge that you could think about. And also very importantly, when you want to go into getting investments for your startup, there should be clarity on the buyers for the company. Who are the investors? who are wanting to buy your company, buy your idea, and support your business. So such business ideas fall in the perfect business ideas kind of category. This is one more chart which you should always keep in mind as the startup people. How quickly you can de-risk your idea. This is a risk or uncertainty. As it goes down, the value of your business goes on increasing. Now, what are the risks in your entire journey? Technology is one important risk because you have to prove that technology. Although the idea is there at the lab scale, before it gets converted into technology, you have to do a lot of de-risking work. So technology is an important risk. People is another important risk where you need to get the right people at the right time, and some of them might be quite expensive to hire. So to get the right people and also to maintain them in your startup is an important risk that you need to take care of. Financial risk is also there. You always need to get continuous flow of funds for your business to survive. Market risk is there, so you need to be very aware about who your market is, who are your customers. And then when you are talking about domains like medical domain, the drug domain where you people are from, then regulatory risk, because drugs, as you know, can fail at the regulatory level also, the clinical trials and the entire regulatory pathway. So you have to be aware about the regulatory risks also. So when you're talking about this idea and execution part in your entire business, the science part of it comes in the business idea, whereas the other part is a lot of non-science kind of stuff, and you need to be aware about that also. And basically, it's a iterative process. You go back and forth. If there are problems in the execution, you refine from the business idea point of view and again try to execute it. So it's an iterative process. Now let us try to understand what is technology innovation and what are the science startups. So what are technology ideas? If you have identified the pain point, you have a solution. It could be a single solution, a group of solution. Then that's a technology idea, and such kind of ideas, the jugaad level ideas, do exist. We have several examples of this in the Indian ecosystem. Now, what is a invention? Invention is when there is novelty in problem or the solution, then there is a invention which is involved in it. And zip is a very important example of such an invention. Now, what are scientific inventions? So this is where we would be interested to be involved, where there is insight from science in the problem or the solution or both parts of it. And a very important example, again from your domain, is the discovery of penicillin, where it is a scientific invention. There is a lot of knowledge intensity in this invention. So that is what is defined as a scientific invention. But what we are talking about is innovation. So which is much beyond invention, where most of us from the academic domain, you all fall in this space and you want to take this leap into the innovation side of the things, where you're taking your invention right up to the market, where it is commercially being used. So the lesson here is the invention is only small part of the entire story. Innovation, where you need to put a lot of work, time, and investment, takes 80% of your work. And those inventions which navigate this part of the process are the ones who are remembered at the end of the day. So what is the important lesson here? Those of you all who want to create value, it could be social value, economic value, with their particular inventions which you have done at the lab scale, what you need to do is need to take it to the market, need to find, create, and build the rest of the journey to the market by navigating this rest of the part of the journey. Now, when you're talking about innovation, again, tech innovation, it is generally not a marathon. Okay, sorry, it is generally not a sprint race. So it's not a short-term kind of 100-meter sprint, but it's a long running race. You have to have a lot of patience, lot of stamina to run that entire race, which is actually equated to a marathon. That it involves many activities and many organizations which support in your entire journey. So what are the different aspects are highlighted in this slide? You need to have capacity building. You need to identify the right problem, question the value proposition, refine it. You also need to keep an idea about what is the know-how, what are the patents, manage the finances. Then when you move on to prototyping the pilots, you have to confirm your value proposition with your customers. Then there are regulatory approvals. Then you move on into manufacturing and then actual marketing, sales, and later on where you go into a large company. So initially, this is where the R&D institutions fall. This is where the startups fall. And then, of course, you make the leap to a large company. Again, when we are talking about this entire ecosystem, just note how many people and how many organizations will be required in this entire ecosystem. So there are people from scientific as well as non-scientific backgrounds, finance backgrounds, legal backgrounds who will be required to support your journey. And of course, this is where the incubator is also involved in this entire ecosystem. So there is funding also available. We will talk about the funding little later in the presentation. So when we're talking about incubators, and there is also something which is called as accelerators, they play a very, very important role in your entire journey. The incubation programs supported by the incubators, they are very important for the startup entrepreneur. So generally the entrepreneur is quite lonely initially in his journey, in his or her journey, because he or she is the only one who believes that this is a very good idea. This is a fantastic idea. It's going to be successful, but no one else believes in his idea. So the family, friends, close friends also, they will not be very convinced about the idea. They will generally try to tell the entrepreneur, please settle down quickly and start earning in your regular job. But the entrepreneurial journey is very difficult. It is lonely. So what the incubation program does is there are several other entrepreneurs, several similar having the similar kind of starting points. The startups are also there, and they will provide an ecosystem which will try to fill in the gaps. So you are not lonely in the journey. They will also support you with different people in the ecosystem. Several events also keep on happening at the incubation programs via the incubator, where you meet your prospective teammates, prospective colleagues, who will have similar kind of passion about the idea that you're trying to pursue. And you meet such people in these programs, and these are called what we call as useful collisions. You network with them, and probably some of them may join you in your journey or be complementary to you in your entire journey. And of course, a lot of experts are there which are provided by the incubator, mentoring experts, some referrals, connects, where a lot of opportunities open for you as an entrepreneur. There are physical incubators, there are virtual incubators, and Venture Center, we are a physical incubator. We also support a lot of startups virtually. So we have ecosystem arranging pan India, and a lot of our startups also access our facilities from far off locations, and almost 70-75 startups are physically incubating with us as resident companies. There are something which is called as accelerators also, where these are short duration programs quickly helping you to move ahead in your journey. So Venture Center and incubators like Venture Center also have acceleration programs to help your entrepreneurial journeys. Now, with this brief background, we will also try to understand what are few essential starting points when you are wanting to explore a business idea. First and foremost, have clarity on your business idea. Now, when I say clarity on the business idea, do not think about what is the technology, but think about what is the exact product or the service that your technology is going to offer to the customer. So who needs that product or service? Why is that product so valuable? What is the potential impact of your product? What is happening currently when suppose your product right now is not in place, but some other products are already there in the market. So what exactly is the value that your product is going to offer? Third important point is who will make the purchase decision. So this is particularly true in the medical domain, where a lot of medical related purchases, particularly for the majority of the community, are made by government. So someone prescribes the medicine, someone buys for it, and the patient is the user. So who is making the purchase decision? Who is going to pay for it? How much they can pay? Can they pay at all or not? Or you have to think about some different business model to support your business in that case. Also, what is important is the value proposition. So when I say value proposition, it means how well your product or the service stands with respect to the current alternatives which are offering the solution. So it never so happens that there's no solution for a particular problem. Some solution in some form generally is available, and you need to prepare well the differentiation chart where you are clearly showing that your particular product or the service stands much more as an advantage to the customer as against the current available products and services. So when you're making a pitch, which is the first important starting point of your business idea, it should read something like this: the company, your company, will deliver this XYZ product or service to such and such customer. So you will have to identify the customer who will choose your product over the competition for the following benefits. So what exactly are the benefits or the reasons or the value proposition for which your product will be preferred? What will be the business model and the company, where do you aim to grow? Which markets are you targeting in this entire journey? The second essential point is the technology and the patents. So what exactly is your technology, and do you have freedom to operate, and do you have your own patents for that matter? So what is the basic existing free prior art? So this is the published literature which is already available in the public domain. Where does your know-how stand, and are there any overlapping patents, or do you have any freedom to operate? Do you have a possibility of having a patent in this entire landscape? So landscaping of your patent, your technology is very, very important before you start with your business idea. The third important point to keep in mind is the resourcing. So when I say resourcing, it is not only the financial resourcing, not only the money part of it, but also those resources in the form of people, key people, special skills, which will be the bottleneck in your journey. So identify those right from the beginning and set up an execution plan to get those resources and the timelines for getting those resources. The fourth important point that you need to keep in mind is the financials. And with that, I mean the income expenditure part of your business. So as science people, as pharmacy people, we generally are not very comfortable working out the financials for our business. But this is what, as a future CEO of your startup, you need to keep in mind. You need to understand what is the income, how much is going to be the expenditure, when are you going to become profitable in the entire journey, what is the rate of return, what is the projection of cumulative profit, and when do you recoup your investment. So you will be putting some money, or someone else will be putting some money in your business. When do you get that investment back? So how long will it take to get that investment back? So this is what I mean by the income expenditure models, and we need to understand the financials to run the business. So with this entire requirements, we as Venture Center will also support you in this entire journey. Venture Center is now in existence for the last 13 years almost. We have been established in 2007. There are several government organizations with whom we work very, very closely. Our mission is to nucleate and nurture technology and knowledge-based startups for India by using the scientific and engineering competencies in broadly Western region, Maharashtra and other parts of the country also. We focus mainly on inventive startups. So those startups which have a high science tech kind of background, we support them. We also support those startups who are spin-offs from academic institutions. So suppose your pharmacy college wants to have wants to support startups, then we also will be there supporting their journey. Biotech, biomed startups are also our focus. Startups which have a social impact, so a lot of socially relevant themes like affordable health, then drug delivery, drug repurposing. These are some of our socially relevant kind of startups whom we support. Energy, environment, material science centric startups, we support all of these. These are some of the key things about Venture Center. Venture Center is supported by the National Chemical Laboratory, and it is one of the first incubators in the CSIR family. We also work very closely with Department of Biotechnology's BIRAC organization, and we are a BIRAC Bionest, BIRAC Regional Bioinnovation Center. We also have a SPARSH center supported by BIRAC, and also recently a technology transfer hub, which I will talk about also in few slides below. With Department of Science and Technology, we have a Nidhi Excellence Program, as well as the Nidhi Entrepreneur in Residence Program, and Nidhi Prayas Grant is another grant, which I will talk about. Incubation, investments, social innovation, lot of scientific initiatives, lot of scientific wet lab facilities are available, and of course, several funding programs for which Venture Center is a implementation partner. So Venture Center is one of the largest inventive enterprise incubator in the country. 76 current incubators we have. We have had 125 today, and total companies or entrepreneurs supported up till now via different programs is 450 plus. Science tech is our strength. We are sector agnostic, and we also have a lot of spin-off companies from R&D labs. We work at a very early stage, so you can come to us just at the concept level, just the idea you have that this probably could have a commercial validity. So that is where we start talking to you. So at the concept stage, taking you all the way to proof of concept and then to the prototype, and of course the journey beyond. We have a lot of investors in our network. So our largest incubator has had more than 100 crores investment up till now. A lot of patents have been filed. Our startups founders are highly qualified from different Indian as well as abroad universities. Women-led startups are also quite a bit in our ecosystem. So almost 30 plus startups, 30% plus startups are women-led startups, and we have specific programs for supporting these startups. And almost 90% of our startups are still active, this being a very difficult domain. Venture Center has had several awards, and recently, 2 years ago, we have had this National Entrepreneurship Award in 2019. We also have had the National Award for Incubation in 2016. So this is what broadly Venture Center offers. In addition to advice and mentoring, funding, infrastructure, a lot of scientific facilities. I will show you some photographs also. And anytime you happen to be in Pune, please do come and visit Venture Center. We have a detailed prototyping lab, so you can prototype your products as well as services in our facilities. We have a regulatory information facility, which is very important for medtech related products. Very good library is there with us. We do a lot of events, one of which we are doing currently. So currently everything is happening in the online mode, and we have almost 150 to 200 such events happening around the year. These are some of our resources and programs at Venture Center. I will show you some pictures. So these are the facilities at Venture Center. Lot of labs, shared facilities, as well as dedicated labs are available for entrepreneurs to come and use. These are some of our events which are happening. These are broadly the startups in our ecosystem. So you can see that there is a lot of focus on the biomed devices, implants, diagnostics, detections. We also have a strong biopharma domain. Center for Biopharma Analysis has recently come up, which is a wet lab facility, and which is very much relevant to the pharmacist, pharmacy and the startups in the pharmacy domain for getting their testing done. And we have a lot of startups in that domain, and then of course other clusters coming. These are few of our successful startups in the medtech domain, in the bio IT domain, in the agriculture domain, energy domain, waste management domain, so on and so forth. What I also wanted to point out that generally the understanding is that all these startups are probably from bigger cities. So that is partially true, but we also have startups where the applicants have come from lot of smaller places. So places like Jalgaon, Aurangabad, Kolhapur. So we have had successful applicants from these locations who have been able to raise a lot of funds via the different funding programs. We have also had applicants from Yavatmal, Nagpur, Nanded. So we do mentor a lot of entrepreneurs from different parts of the country. So these are few numbers, 100 plus residents up till now overall in this 12 to 13 years. 36 of them have already graduated. We have a lot of space currently available, and Venture Center also is complementary to different government programs under the different missions and schemes available. These are few startups out of R&D institutions. So as an example for your pharmacy college, such possibilities are also there. So we have a technology transfer hub, which helps us facilitate transfer of technologies from different academic institutions to industries. Now talking about the funding opportunities, these are few of the funding programs which we support in different capacities. So particularly, I'm going to talk about the ones which are highlighted in red, and those are very important because these are early stage kind of funding programs. We also mentor for the late stage funding programs. So idea to proof of concept to prototype demonstration is what primarily we focus through these grants. And then of course we have other networks via which we connect you or mentor you to take your product to the market. So this is one of the first programs, and I'm the relevant person for handling this social innovation related programs. These are programs which are supported primarily by BIRAC, and we have two schemes under it. One is the SPARSH scheme, which is at the proof of concept stage, and another is a fellowship program, which is at the idea stage, so before the proof of concept stage. So we have had 4 rounds up till now. The fourth cohort is currently in. This is what has happened with the first cohort, and generally this is based on some particular socially relevant theme. So this theme was on maternal and child health, and 2 of our fellows were able to create startups and raise the next level of funding of 50 lakhs. Out of these 4 fellows, again, 3 startups are already in place, and they have been able to secure next level of funding. So this call particularly was on sanitation and waste to value. The third call was on elderly related innovations. So these 3 fellows, they were able to also move ahead with a next level funding. 2 startups generated, and we also had a design registration and a provisional patent filed by one of the fellows. And the next call, the fourth call is in, and we have the theme as waste to value this time. And these are the fellows who are part of this program. They have just joined this program 6 months back. So they are into the prototyping stage now, and we are mentoring them to raise the next level of funding. This call is going to come. So be aware about the upcoming call also, which is going to be on agri-related ideas. So if you have, as from the pharmacy background, if you have any agri-related products in your mind, then do look up for this call. This is tentatively going to happen in May 2021. And we are also planning to have a mentoring program in place from 15th of February, particularly mentoring for this Agritech Fellowship call. So look out for our announcements. I will leave a address to you with you also to get the regular emailers. So I am the contact person for this social innovations related funding programs, and feel free to write to me or call me on my cell number. My details are here. There is one more funding program which is also at the early stage, and which is Entrepreneur in Residence program. The call currently is not open, but it is going to open in a few days. And this is managed by my another colleague, Amrita Gore. Her contact details are available on this slide. So this is also a government supported funding program, Department of Science and Technology supported program for early stage ideas. This is not specific for any particular theme. So you from the pharmacy and drug development background can apply for this call whenever it comes up. There is one more call, which is a prototyping grant, which is a Prayas Grant. It is called. It is again from Department of Science and Technology, and the contact person's details are again given on this slide. This call will also open in a few months' time. We also have some seed investments. So my other colleague Shruti, her contact details are given on this slide. So if you are beyond the proof of concept stage, then you should look at this seed funding, which are where Venture Center is an implementation partner. So BIRAC Leap Fund, BIRAC Seed Fund, and Nidhi Seed Support System are the 3 seed funding calls which we regularly open up. For institutions, for academic institutions, so for your professors who are part of this talk, I would like to point out this particular call, which is the Promoting Academic Research Conversion to Enterprise, the PACE call. The 15th February is the round which is going to open now, and it is for academic innovation research as well as contract research scheme. So the details of this call are available on this particular BIRAC website. The URL is given here, and this is a call which has to be taken in coordination with the industry. So please keep an eye out for this proposal. We do mentor for this program also. And one particular call which is currently open, I would like to talk little bit in detail, and that is the Biotech Ignition Grant. This is the 18th call which has opened. The call is for biotech related ideas. So I will also show you what domains are covered under that, and then of course drug development, is a key domain which is handled by this, which is supported by this call. So what is the purpose of BIG? Basically, the purpose is to foster generation of ideas where there is a possibility of commercialization. BIG, that is Biotech Ignition Grant, it supports at the proof of concept stage. So be sure that that is the stage that this call supports. Upscaling and validating the POC is supported here, and researchers are encouraged to take the technology closer to the market through a startup. So the ticket size of this particular call is 50 lakhs, which is quite a considerable amount of money, and the duration is 18 months for this particular call. Currently, the call is open. It has opened on 1st of January, and the end date is 15th of February. So there are still 15 more days, and we are mentoring currently for this particular application. So the funding is for startups and for individuals. So I'm assuming most of you are still individuals and would like to consider this call seriously. Funding is in the form of grant in aid, and currently they have put up some royalty and tech transfer clauses from the recent calls. What we as a BIG partner provide to you is mentoring, advisory, and referral support. We also have, help you to go into different networking events and give you visibility via the different programs which are organized by BIRAC as well as BIG partners. And what you will get at the minimum is get a feedback for your ideas, which is evaluated by experts in that particular domain. So even if you feel you're not completely ready for the final pitch, I would encourage you to apply for this call and do that with mentoring support from Venture Center. When you're trying to understand the scope of BIG, do just take a careful look at what is supported and what is not supported. Let me first start with what is not supported. So if you're doing exploratory kind of research, it is still at the research level. It is a PhD thesis that is still being done, nowhere near completion. There is no plan for technology or product development. There's no novelty, or there is a lot of ethical or environmental risk involved in this particular idea, or there is no commercial potential. It is at clinical trials, because what the clinical trials particularly will not be supported by BIG. That will be supported by different grants from BIRAC. What is supported is if there is a technology objective, you want to establish proof of concept, you want to do tech de-risking, you want to generate scientific data so that the idea can be licensed to investors or to licensors. Or there is translation of ideas into commercially viable products to develop technologies to address some very key important unmet need. So these are the things that you need to understand when you're trying to apply for BIG. Now these are the domains. So if you just take a look at this slide and try to understand what are the domains, you see that anything and everything under biotech is covered. And this is where probably your industrial product and processes, green technology, industrial biotechnology, drug development. So there are slides or there are domains which are supported under the healthcare domain, which would be of relevance to you. So these are some of the themes and sub-themes, and this is where under industrial biotechnology, drugs or regenerative medicines, you would be interested to make your pitch. So drugs, including drug delivery, vaccines, phytopharma, these are the things which could be of your particular interest. What is the eligibility for applying? If you're a startup, you have to have at least 51% as an Indian resident owned company, a registered company under 5 years of registration, and company should have either of their own functional R&D lab or should be associated with some incubator. And of course, the project leader who is heading the project should be committed to take the project to completion. As an individual, because this is what I'm assuming most of you would be, you have to be an Indian citizen. You have to incubate in a technology business incubator. So on the BIRAC website, the approved by incubator list is already displayed. So you could incubate at any of the technology business incubator, not necessarily be incubated in Pune at Venture Center. So your BIG partner could be Venture Center, and you could be incubated in an incubator which is nearer to your location, or you could incubate, of course, at Venture Center. That is up to you. You need to have completed the basic graduation, and that is what is the B.Pharm degree has to be in place. The project leader needs to carry out the project full time, and if it's a not-for-profit, then organizational policies should be there for faculty spin-off. So particularly if a professor from your institution wants to apply, then the organization policy should be in place to allow for a faculty spin-off. So we can also help in designing that organization policy under our tech transfer hub. So as incubator, physical dedicated facility, scientific facilities is required to be in place. Then formal long-term agreements and approvals from BIRAC or BST should be there. And as I have highlighted here, your chosen incubator may or may not be your BIG partner. They could be two different institutions. So these are broadly the BIG partners. And as you can see, Venture Center is a BIG partner. This time they have also given some BIG associate partners to few more institutions. So you can take a look at this entire list, and there's much more as incubators, approved incubators on the BIRAC website. Some tips and pointers how to apply for BIG. Keep in mind that this is proof of concept kind of grant. Novelty should be there, and it should also try to address some unmet need. Technical feasibility of the project is must. If there are any IP barriers, you should have identified those. You should have done the landscape, patent landscape before putting down the IP possibility. Clarity in the business model is also emphasized. So in the mentoring which we are offering currently, we do help you to build all these things as important pointers for making your BIG application successful. Team credibility is also very, very important, and we will advise you on that. Goals of the project should be such that they can be completed in 18 months, and budget is up to 50 lakhs. Proof of concept definition is very important. So you need to spend considerable amount of time on the proof of concept definition. Take efforts to write the concept note, and as a mentoring partner with you for the BIG grant, we will provide you with a template for the concept note, because that is what the reviewers will look at first to select or not select your application. Stating IP generation is important. Clear plan of work in stages. What is your team and what are the milestones that you will be achieving? So milestones have to be carefully defined, because the funds requested will be attached to the milestones completed. This is how the evaluation will happen. Unmet need will get 20% weightage, value proposition 20%, technical viability 30%, team strength gets 15%, business perspective gets 15%, and then what is the key qualifier, critical qualifier is the commercial potential. If there is a commercial potential to your idea, that could be a critical qualifier to getting your idea selected. This is broadly the application process. This is the BIRAC website. You go to it, you register your login credentials with BIRAC. They will give you a password so that your login is generated. And then, of course, the proposal submission is the next important step, where you will be asked a lot of basic information, particulars about you as the applicant, who is the project leader, what are the team details, what are the proposal details, and the budget also quite in detail. So these are the few budget related guidelines, where equipment, manpower has a upper cap of 15 lakhs. So it should not go beyond 30% of your total budget, as well as external and outsourced services should not exceed 30% of your total ask. So these are some caps, but other things are quite flexible. This is the chart which shows the numbers related to the BIG success rate. So I want you to focus on the first row and the last row. The first row shows that slowly the number of applications have gone on increasing. But in the last row, if you see, more or less the number of grants which center gets for the incubators has remained same. So this shows that BIG is becoming quite competitive day by day. These are our teammates who mentor the team. So we have a mentoring team, we have applications and contracts team, and then of course we have a project monitoring team who will be in touch with you once you get the BIG project. But this is the team who will mentor you before the BIG application to ensure that to improve the success rate of your application. These are the contact details of my colleague Kirti Vani. She's a PhD in biotechnology, and she will be the first point of contact to help you in putting up the application in time. So please feel free to write to Kirti or get in touch with her over her cell number for this application. So what we are also offering currently as an Ignition program. So how do you associate it with Venture Center immediately? So this is one particular program which is called an Ignition program. Of course, it is going to happen online right now. And my colleague, Dr. Smita Kale, is the point of contact for this. This is the registration link for this, and this is going to happen on 8th and 9th of February, 2.5 hours daily. So from 3:30 to 6 p.m. And we are going to cover some very, very basic things about entrepreneurship. So it will be much more in detail than what we are talking right now. So please do try to register and get associated with Venture Center through our virtual Ignition program to start with. We also offer something which is called as an incubation practice school for colleges and institutions. So my colleague Shoma is the point of contact for this particular practice school program. And as a college, if you want to strengthen your incubation team, incubation cell, then feel free to avail of this best practices which we share via this program to make you as a successful incubation cell. These are some of our social media connects, and feel free to connect with us anytime. So that is all from my end, and we are open for questions now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
I would like to ask attendees to please, if there are any questions, you can ask. You can raise your hand so that I can unmute you.
Or if they've put something in the chat box, have they?
Yes, on YouTube Live, there are the questions, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
First question is, do I have to take out a mortgage to get a loan for my startup?
So that will come much later in the journey. Right now, probably if you are at a very early stage, it is not a good idea to take a loan at this point. And I am assuming no bank will give you a loan without any collateral or anything, right? So if you want
Okay,
to,
ma'am. Then
what is advised is go for a grant.
Do I have next? Yes, I want to establish essential oil extraction unit. Will you provide funding?
So what is the novelty that I'll need to understand? If it's a different process, a novel process of establishing, then definitely there are grants which are available for which we will help mentor you to write the grant proposals. But if it is something which is routinely done, then probably you should not be approaching us. You should probably go for some loan or bank loan or something, if it's an established process.
Yes, ma'am. Next question is, what are the critical criteria for getting a fund from the venture center?
So first and foremost is the novelty, science tech novelty. So your idea has to be really different, nothing which is already established. So and it should be strong on science. The second part is if you already have IP in that, then that adds to your weightage. If you have a good credential yourself that you are already a pharmacy graduate, then that adds to your weightage. Putting a team together, you already have thought about who would be your teammates, and you present yourself as a complete team, that again adds to your weightage. But the most important thing is the idea which is at the which is strong in science and technology and novelty.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Next question is that I want to develop app for children. Will venture center give funding for that?
Develop what?
Children for app for children.
I'm not getting ACT.
App.
Okay. App for children. For what? What does the app do? So if it is some e-commerce kind of app, that will not get funding from these kind of grants which are science tech related. But if it is something which is related to, say, monitoring the health of the child, yes, it will have a, that's the bio IT component, which will be novel probably, and that might be able to, but I'll need to understand from you what exactly you're trying to develop. So no
Okay.
e-commerce platforms kind of apps are supported, broadly speaking.
Okay, ma'am. So one more question is that the funding means for funding whatever the projects or whatever the grants that are mentioned, for that we need to initially submit the proof of concept, and then
Yes.
we will be get invited, or we have to come personally to visit
No,
venture
so
center.
there are two things. If you are looking for a funding, a particular funding, then yes, you have to keep an eye on the website, or also I think I forgot to share the details of my colleague. Do I have access to the chat?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I'm not able to. Okay, I'll just stop sharing. Okay, I'll just put down the email address of my colleague, Anita@ninjacenter. Okay, so you please write to her and get signed up for the mailing list. Sorry, emailer, which comes every 15 days, and that will give you details of what funding call is going to open. The second thing is, if you just have an idea, you can anyways come and talk to us. Just give a call or write an email to us saying that I want to come and discuss the idea with you. And then after that discussion, we can take a call whether you need to incubate with us, or otherwise also we can connect you to the right mentors.
Okay, ma'am. One more question is there, madam. It is in a chat box. What are the requirements for pharmaceutical institution involved in research to receive funding from venture? Means
So,
it is,
yeah, so for research level, we are not the right organization to approach, because research funding is anyway available from Department of Biotechnology, Department of Science and Technology, or ICMR, right? So these are the different government bodies which are already giving a lot of funding into research, and they have their own independent calls for research proposals. What Venture Center helps you is the startup kind of funding. So that's a different thing. When you see that your research has been done and you think that this particular research idea will have a commercial potential, if you think you are into that, you want to go into that and want to commercialize that idea, that is when venture center comes into picture. So your research is done. After that, you want to have the funding to take it to market. That is where we will help you.
okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Dear attendees, are there any more questions? Okay. Those who want to ask the question, they can raise their hand so that I can allow them to talk. Okay, Malesh Bhalekar is there, ma'am. He want to ask.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Malesh.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you please tell us about one entrepreneur, means about his idea and how Venture Center helped him for his idea?
So as I have said, we have already helped several startups in the medtech, biomed, biotech, agri, energy sector. So for example, in this fellowship program, because they come at the idea stage, the first call, which was on maternal and child health, we help them to refine their idea by taking them to the field, going to the hospitals and fine tuning the idea. And then of course, through the social innovation fellowship, they one of them, for example, she was developing a neonatal screening device. So initially it was based on sepsis diagnosis using some markers, and she developed the alpha prototype via our first fellowship program. Then she got the BIG grant, via which she actually developed a product which is now into the clinical trial stage. So we have always handheld them. We have now invested in her as a seed company. We have given her seed investment, and we are holding equity in her startup also now. So this is the journey of a early stage idea, where that girl had come to us with just the idea, and now she's in the clinical trial stage. Of course, as you know, this device, till it comes into the market, it will need to go through the regulatory process. It will take few more years still to reach the market. So we are with her for the last 5 years now.
Is there any question? Anjali, do you want to talk? Anjali, do you want to ask questions?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good
I
evening.
would like to know about how
Ma'am,
to write
one more
proof
time.
of
Yes, ma'am. There is a question from YouTube. We have developed a device for preventing back pain called Asan and registered IP for this. Are we eligible for funding?
So since IP is registered, I'm assuming it's a novel thing. So yes, you should actually apply for BIG, depending on what you want to do ahead. Because just by knowing this, I don't know at what stage of your journey you are. If you are okay, you can write to me with your idea, and then I can advise you whether BIG is the right thing or the grants beyond that would be the right thing. So please feel
Okay,
right.
so I'm giving your email ID to him, ma'am.
Yeah, you can put it in the chat box so that everyone can.
In the chat box and on YouTube. Yes, to the Vaibhav Kulkarni. Vaibhav Kulkarni. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think that there are no more questions. So we can end here.
Sure. So I'm assuming
So
there
thank
are
you. No,
90
ma'am. Thank you.
participants.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there 90 participants currently?
Yes, actually there were 100,
Right.
and on YouTube others are there.
All right. It
Yeah,
would be
one
good
more
if
question
you
is
can
there,
share
madam,
the
from
contact details of these attendees because we
yes,
keep
yes,
them
ma'am. I will share.
updated about the funding
Yes,
opportunities.
for certificate I'm going to prepare, so I will share with you. One
Yeah.
more question is there, one. Can I get a loan for cosmetic preparation startup as I am a cosmetologist?
Again, I would like to say that what is the novelty here?
Okay.
So if there is novelty in this idea, then definitely you are eligible for this funding. So just by knowing and writing that it's a cosmetic formulation, I would not know whether it is novel or not. I need to know the details to advise
Yes,
you. So feel free.
I will give your email ID to them so that they can discuss this idea.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for presenting such thoughtful lecture and satisfying the queries of the students related to all this funding, because most of the students and most of the faculty or other people want to have their own startup, or they want to become a entrepreneur, but they are not aware about the funding. And this is actually the whole everything goes around the funding or finance, and you have rightly approach this particular problem, their issue, and I'm truly humbled by your numerous insightful contributions to this lecture. Contribution of such a caliber can only come from a true genius like you. So thank you so much, ma'am, for teaming with us. We hope to work with you in future to explore more about the entrepreneurship opportunities, and it is really a wonderful lecture, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Those who able to attend this lecture, this webinar, those who have attended through the YouTube also, I'm also thankful to them. So thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.